heart-led visionary leaders create legacy of impact and income through the channel of entrepreneurship and do more good in the world. You will get access to all our amazing speakers today and walk away with great wisdom and inspiration so that you can level up yourself and your business to the next level. All right, Visionary CEOs, welcome back to another summit. Today, I am so happy to be back with you with other amazing guests in a beautiful panel. And today, we're going to talk about what is your vision for greater impact in your life and your business. As you know, I'm your host, CEO of the Life School, Elona Lapari, and here at the Life School, we help entrepreneurs, visionary leaders, and business leaders actually grow a legacy business on purpose through branding, marketing, sales, systems, and team so that they maximize their impact and income. Our vision here at the Life School is to empower CEOs to realize their life's purpose through legacy entrepreneurship. And our mission is to become the most influential global community, purposeful entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurship in impacting the world to become a better place. And the values of our community are community, connection, service, growth, freedom, and contribution. So having said that, welcome to those of you that are going to join us live. You have a chance to ask any questions to our guests. I will leave a small segment at the end of the summit where we can answer some of your questions. So if you're joining us live, definitely put your questions in the chat and we will definitely do our best to answer your questions as well. So I have a few other summit speakers that are joining me. So if you could turn on your cameras, I would love to bring you on stage and have a really natural conversation. I think that is always where the heart leads us as purpose-driven entrepreneurs. So whatever our message needs to be shared or needs to come out or come through today, that's exactly what we will do. So I will bring on and introduce to you my first beautiful speaker, Kimberly Tara. Kimberly is a CPA. Kimberly, thanks so much for coming on. And I know you are based, as we talked about, tell us where you are based and also share a little bit around your journey that led you to the work that you're doing today so that we get to know you a little bit better.
Absolutely. I apologize for my lighting. I thought I had it fixed and I don't have it fixed. So I hope that it's not too bad for everyone. But thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for, just having this space for us to share. So my name is Kimberly Tara. I am a CPA and certified tax coach. I am based in the suburbs of New Orleans, Louisiana, where I was born and raised and only left for just a little while to go to college. So I have had my tax practice now for 7 years. And I unknowingly started my tax practice 10 weeks pregnant. So I like to say that I've been growing my business and growing my practice at the same time. And I think that not only am I in a very unique position in the way that we partner with our clients on the tax and business finance side, but I also uniquely understand the journey and especially what that entrepreneurship journey looks like as a mom, as someone who is juggling a lot of different things. We're juggling a lot of things as business owners. We're juggling a lot of things as parents. You put those two together and it can sometimes be a very overwhelming, it can combust sometimes. So we partner with our clients to really help them maximize their revenue, reduce their taxes, build wealth, and create a legacy. And we do that through proactive tax strategy and an ongoing trusting relationship. And to be perfectly honest, I never marketed my business until about 8 months ago. And what I learned through getting on calls with incredible women who were looking for our services is that many business owners, women especially, are having horrific experiences with their CPAs, with their accountants, with their tax professionals. And so that has really changed my mission from, I want to grow my practice to these women need to know that I am out here. They need to know that they are worthy and deserving of a good CPA and a good experience and someone who's going to educate them, because I truly believe that through the education, that is where the empowerment comes from, to confidently step into that true role of CEO where you own the financial and tax side of your business. So that's my mission. That's why I'm here. I want to educate on this topic that is usually dry and boring and nobody wants to talk about. And I'm here to change that game.
Wow. Well, I love your journey, Kimberly, and I love that you said that you changed your focus from me growing the business to service. Where are
Yes.
the gaps? How can I serve the women that I want to help? That's what drives me insane in the marketplace, and I'm here to fix that major big problem based on my experience and expertise. So
Yep.
I love that. So share with us a little bit around what are some of those issues in the industry that people are encountering, and then I'll ask you to share some tips around foundational tips that you can give us. We have an audience here of seasoned entrepreneurs and business leaders. So, depending on where they are in their phase and stage of their business impact and profit, they probably can benefit from a lot of the experience that you have to offer.
Definitely. Yeah. So it's funny because we've always been very service focused and client focused. We have a very elevated client experience with how our clients work with us. And that's just, those are my core values. And that is why the firm was built the way it was built. But what I've been hearing in speaking with new clients is their CPAs are unresponsive. I have one client, they waited 3 months and never heard back from their CPA. And that was what led her to reach out to us because she needed an answer. She needed an update. She needed to know where she was. That client actually also went with someone else at first. She said, I wanted to work with you. It's a little above my price range, but I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to have someone do my 2022 taxes, but I want to come back to you for 2023. The people that she contacted for 2022, they never got back to her. And so we were able to help her and turn around her taxes for 2022 within 2 weeks. And one of the things that she told me that has really truly stuck with me from our time together is that she said she knew she wanted to work with us because not only were we being responsive, but I proactively reached out to her to check on her at one point, just in the application process of working with her. And that's something that's really stuck with me because I didn't think that that was anything special. That's just who we are. But when she said that, that really stuck with me. That does make us special. So we really focus on that. Some of the other things that I'm hearing, as far as negative experiences go, is the way that a CPA or an accounting professional will speak to the business owner. Again, this is especially for women. It's in a very condescending way, as in making them feel like they shouldn't have asked the question or making them feel stupid for asking the question. And that's not how we learn. That's not our job as a professional. If everyone knew what we did, you wouldn't need us. So creating a safe, supportive space for these questions, for this education, for getting you the resources is really important. And that's not being done enough. And I will leave with the caveat that the accounting industry in the US, we are having more leaving, more exiting the industry than we have new accountants and CPAs coming in. We are overworked. We are overwhelmed after the last 3 years with all of the changes that have come through the tax code. But I still don't feel that that excuses poor service from our industry. I feel we have an ethical duty to our clients to be honest with them and at a bare minimum communicate. And even if that communication says, we're 4 weeks away from touching your tax return, I think that that communication is still very important for the business owner and for the taxpayer. And so I just kept hearing these stories. And then to top it all off, many tax professionals are just tax preparers and they're just preparing your tax return with historical data from the prior year. What our firm does, where our unique edge is that we are being proactive and creative, and we are working with our clients throughout the year to say, what can we do? What can we change? What can we shift that is going to allow us to reduce the overall taxes that you're paying? And especially for service providers. So, those are going to be your digital creators, your consultants, coaches, attorneys, photographers, right? Anybody who has a service-based business doesn't have a brick and mortar. It can be a catch 22. The more money you make, sometimes the more problems you have because you don't necessarily have deductions that you can take because you're a service-based business owner.
Mm. All very, very important, and all gaps to be filled, right? And that's what makes us different. But I feel like as CEOs and company founders, we do have to articulate these gaps in our industries, right?
Yes.
I just made a post about that today, about where I feel the gaps are in the coaching and consulting industries.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than kind of ignoring all of that, we kind of have to bring that to attention, and that
Yes,
is our polarizing message, which is
it
very,
is.
very important. And we're also unique in the way that we look at things, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
that's what makes us so beautifully authentic in our own brands and in the way that we serve our clients as well. And Kimberly, give me a few best practices, foundational best practices that you feel could apply to anyone, solopreneur all the way to a let's say a multi.
Eight figure. I do have a couple of 8-figure clients. Yeah. So what I would love to share today foundationally is tax strategy and tax planning is not just for the rich. I think that even as CEOs and business owners, we are preconditioned, one, to have a negative emotion for taxes. So I want you to remove that negative emotion, that overwhelm when you hear the word tax. It's a part of business and we need to treat it as such. But what I really want to leave you with is that if you are a business owner and you are starting to approach 60,000, 100,000 in gross revenues, you absolutely should be looking at and implementing tax strategy and tax planning in your business. It is not just for the Amazons of the world, the Jeff Bezos of the world. The tax code, the US tax code was written in a way that uniquely allows business owners to reduce their overall taxes. So use it to your advantage. Work with someone who is knowledgeable in tax strategy, not just tax preparation, because I promise you there are opportunities if you are at 60,000, 200,000, 500,000, 2 million. There are plenty of opportunities for you to be using tax strategy in your business to reduce your overall tax liability. And the biggest thing that I want to say is making sure that you are not missing out on deductions. That is the number one tax strategy that I like to leave with anybody who is willing to listen to me talk. And that is because whether you're a brand new business owner and you're just learning what business deductions you can be taking on your tax return, even up to some of the 8-figure CEOs that I've worked with, they just didn't realize that something that an expense could qualify as a business deduction. And so we're here to not only make sure that we're capturing all of the expenses, whether that's in QuickBooks or an Excel file, whatever that might look like for you and based on the size of your business. First, you want to make sure that you're not missing any deductions, right? By not having a system in place to track them, but also shifting our mindset to say, could this be a business expense, or how do I make this a business expense? That is going to be such a critical part. And I think just a very easy first step towards using tax strategy as a business owner.
Mm. I love the distinction that you made between tax prepare and tax strategy. There's so much that we don't know, right? So money that we can, I guess, save in
Mhm.
whatever terms we want to put it
Yep,
into, and use it in other avenues and sources to reinvest it, maybe even back in the business.
exactly.
That's what the magic of that is. But
Yes.
understanding the gaps is definitely something that becomes a bigger priority the more assets you build and
Yeah,
the
it
bigger
is.
the company becomes. So
Right. And understanding it enough as the CEO, right? Because I do, I've seen along the way some CEOs say, well, I don't need to know that. I have a CPA. And here's what I want to leave you with is you still need to have a base knowledge of this information so that you can have more thoughtful and intentional conversations with the professional that you've hired. Because if I'm asking you questions, and we do a great job of making sure that we educate our clients so that they can answer our questions, but I find a lot of professionals do not. And so you don't know, you're like, you say yes to your CPA, but you really meant no because you didn't fully understand the question that they were asking you. So you still need to be educated and knowledgeable on these topics enough to have good conversations with the professionals you've hired.
Powerful, powerful. Because if we ask better questions, we get better answers, and
Exactly.
we make better decisions. It's
Exactly.
automatic. Love that, love that. Well, thank you so much, Kimberly. Love everything that you shared with us so far. Thanks so much for the amazing wisdom. And I would love to bring on Mike Jessen Sheck, and I think he's also a CPA. So this
Yeah.
is
Wow. I listen to Mike's podcast.
I was gonna
Hi,
say, me and Kimberly are bred from the same cloth because
Mike.
we're
Yes.
talking the same stuff.
I feel honored, Mike, to be in the same room with you.
Look at this. It's such a small world after all. I love it. And actually, this is what, and I'll love to hear Mike's perspective on it and also a little bit around his life journey. But, it's, we can be doing the same thing, but we all have such a different experience and so many different assets and value that we bring to the table. So, Mike, welcome. Thanks
Yeah,
so much
thanks.
for being
Thanks
here.
for having me. What Kimberly was saying is I'm point and agree with 100%. What actually happened? I started in the online marketing industry. Was deep into different businesses within the online marketing industry. Ended up opening up an accounting firm. Accounting was my backup plan. Being a CPA was my backup plan, and I started only doing bookkeeping. And I would partner with people for tax type work. And what I ended up getting into a situation where clients would ask me tax questions. I'd reach out to a tax professional for it. And I would always get this answer of saying, it depends. So I'd say, like, how do I hire my kids in my business? And the tax professional would say, well, it depends. And I could never get an answer that I could bring to my client. And so I ended up doing so much research on my own to say, okay, I know it depends. And I know everyone's situation is different. You need to know the details of every situation. But as part of that, when we look at tax planning, tax strategies, 90% of that strategy is the same for everybody. It doesn't depend. It's that last 5 to 10% that we tweak that strategy to make it specific and change a little thing to make it specific to the client that you're working with. And so that kind of sent me out on a mission to say, okay, I want to take this tax knowledge that I'm learning and having to do myself because I can't get a really good answer from the professionals I'm working with. And I want to be able to take that to business owners. And so, got out of kind of doing the actual accounting work and tax work and working in a firm. And really my mission now is, with our podcast and training programs is saying, how can we help business owners understand the tax strategies that are available out there for them? And so my goal is to say, okay, here are tax strategies you can implement. Here's how you do it. Now take this to your CPA. Take this to people like Kimberly and other CPA firms out there that are really good at this type of stuff and work on that last 5 to 10% and help them with your filing of your return as well. But again, as Kimberly kind of mentioned, like you should be knowledge, at least from a core understanding of all this type of tax work, regardless of where you are. If you're a big CEO of a multi-million-dollar business, you should still have at least a basic understanding of the tax strategies that you're putting into place. And so that's kind of our goal with our podcast. What we're doing is just trying to bring awareness of what strategies are out there, not just saying, oh yeah, go hire your kids and then move on. It's like, no, let's talk about some of the details about what does hiring your kids actually mean? What do you need to know? What do you need to do to hire your kids? But then also saying, there's that little 5 to 10% that still needs to be completed, that still needs to be customized to you, but we're going to get you 90% of the way there. And my hope is that then the client's saying, the business owner is saying, yeah, I can do this. This isn't complicated. This isn't that hard. I know how to do this, instead of being stuck with well, you can hire your kids, but everything kind of depends. And then the client saying, okay, well, I'm out. That seems like too much work to go any further from that.
Yeah. Mike, what I love that you said, it's our love language here at the Life School. You talk about fundamentals. Yes, there is specific, unique situations, but once you work with people enough, you see fundamentals and you see principles, things that do repeat. So I love that you mentioned that. And you and Kimberly are such a beautiful example to what I always talk about with authentic branding. And even though someone does similar things, we're all built, our brain is built differently. We look at gaps differently. We bring in a different experience. We've had a different life experience, even though we might tap in the same industry. So I love that, you are also a beautiful complementation to that as well. So, Mike, based on the education that you bring to your podcast, and definitely I would love to hear a little bit more regarding the podcast that you have going on and the education aspect behind that as well. What are some of the things that you would like to share with us that sort of repeat in the teaching and the fundamentals of what you stand for as a brand and what you want to really relate to other business owners?
Yeah, I think I would just take kind of what Kimberly said about this idea of maximizing deductions being such a core strategy that I think a lot of people miss out on. And when I hear the word maximizing deductions, when I was a business owner, not in accounting, not in tax or anything like that, I always thought of, oh, that means I need to go buy a car, go buy a truck. I need to spend all this money before the end of the year so that I can lower my tax liability, buy things that I don't need. And when we look at maximizing deductions, we're saying that's not it at all. That's not what we're looking for. What we're looking for is let's look at spending that we already do. What is spending that we already do? Can we find a business purpose to shift that into a business expense? So let's look at hiring your kids as an example. We're supporting our kids. We're sending them to basketball camps. We're sending them to concerts. They're going to different things with their friends. We're supporting them. But right now, we're doing that with after-tax dollars. We're doing that with our personal funds. Now, obviously, we can't just say, oh, we're just going to start paying for the sporting events and all these other things out of the business. But what we can do is start to hire our kids in our business. Can they start sending mailers for us? Can they clean our office? Is there little things that a child can do to help that within our business, to help our business, that we can take a tax deduction for? Because now we can move that spending from what we call after-tax dollars into a business expense, which is pre-tax dollars. So when we look at maximizing deductions, it's saying, don't go out and buy things you don't need. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking at how can we shift where your spending's occurring. So after-tax dollars is money that's spent after your money's been taxed. This is everything you spend on personally. Pre-tax are things that are done within the business. And so it's looking at those different things on how we can do that. And just a quick example on that, if we look at the home office as an example, I think this really comes into play when we look at when COVID hit. So many small business owners were sent, or so many workers were sent home to work from a home office. If you're a W-2 employee, you work for somebody else, and you were working in the office, now you're working from home. You had to go out and buy a desk. You have to go out and buy a chair. You're using utilities, the heat, everything like that else from your home now. As a W-2 employee, you get absolutely zero deduction for that. But as a business owner, now that you're working out of that home office, that desk you bought, business deduction. That chair that you bought, business deduction. That home office that you're working with and a portion of your utilities and everything else, business deduction. And so that's kind of this idea of after-tax versus pre-tax dollars and moving those monies into those different areas. And so I think Kimberly said it right on the knot. When we talk about what is one strategist missed out on, it's maximizing deductions. It's this idea of where can I take spending I'm already doing and move it into a business purpose. And it gets, there's so many different areas of that. It's not just, okay, put some of your cell phone in your business. Of course, let's do that. But it goes well beyond that. It's saying, how can we fund our child's basketball camp that he's going to and get a business deduction for that? That's the thinking that we're doing. But again, we don't want to fluff things. We don't want to just say, oh yeah, just pay for your child's basketball camp out of your business and move on. That does a disservice to a business owner. It's saying, okay, we understand this idea of hiring our kids in our business. What do we have to do that? They have to maybe be a certain age. We have to make sure that they're actually doing work for us. We have to make sure we're paying them a reasonable wage for the work that they're doing. But all those things, once you know them, they're pretty easy to put in place. They're pretty easy to come up with those items. And now, yeah, your business is paying for basketball camps. You're getting a business deduction for basketball camps because of that little bit of strategy. And again, you didn't spend any more money to do that. It was just a shift of where that money was spent.
Powerful stuff for sure. A lot of this is mindset shifts. And I love that. I actually want to throw out a question that I've been sort of like processing on my own regarding the way we even look at expenses in our business. Because if I think back of all the investments that I've made in my personal life and in my business, there are investments that eventually, if I make the right decision, they have a return back on. So we have a return back on that investment. So is there such a thing as expenses? So this is something that I've been kind of playing around, and I love to throw it to you and Kimberly, since you're experts on this field as well. What are your thoughts around looking at the things that we invest in our business, not as expenses, but as investments?
Yeah, I mean, I love that idea. And again, I think that when we look at tax planning, it is a complete mindset shift because people are not used to this, especially if you come from a W-2 world. You're not used to what's out there. And the other thing too is that there is so much misinformation that goes out there. I'm from a grew up in a small town, and the amount of stuff that I think people were doing and taking deductions for that wasn't valid, but then also like not taking deductions for things they should have been taking deductions for. And everyone then just starts, it's a snowball effect. The auto body shop is doing it this way, and they talk to their friends over at the local bakery, and all of a sudden they start doing things that way. And it's a snowball effect of taking misinformation and going down the road. And I always say when it comes to that is that just because somebody's been doing it for 30 years and never got caught doesn't mean that it's right. And so it's again having that core understanding of what's out there. But when you look at an expense versus an investment, I think that that's a good way to look at things. But also not being too caught up with it. I think when you look at an expense, it's of course an investment. If I buy this new mic that I'm talking into, that's an investment. Like the goal is, okay, I'm going to sound better on podcasts, whatever it might be, and hopefully that gives us more, brings more listeners in, whatever it might be. But also understanding that I could buy a $10,000 microphone, and that's really probably not going to bring in that much listeners than a $300 microphone. And so, don't get caught up in this idea of, oh, investing it is if I look at it as an investment, then it's okay, because that again is spending that doesn't need to be done necessarily. So it's all just kind of never chase a tax savings with an expense. Never chase a tax savings with an investment. But can we pair those together to make it a sweet surprise and a sweet tax savings? Absolutely. But making sure that it makes sense from both ends. If you get a tax savings from it, but the investment doesn't produce anything, that doesn't do you any good. If you get a tax savings from it, but then you're just kind of shifting income and it's an expense you already paid, well, now you got true savings. If you buy a vehicle for $60,000 that you don't need, and you save $30,000 on that at a high level, well, you're still out 60. You save 30 in taxes, but you're still out 60 on something that you don't need. So it's a loss situation in that situation. Whereas if we look at it from a shift, or we look at it from an investment, what can this thing produce? Does it make sense to buy that vehicle if I need something to carry my lawnmowers around for the landscaping business I'm in? Then that makes sense. It's a $60,000 expense. We're saving $30,000 in taxes, and I'm growing my business because of that $60,000 expense. So it's just kind of that mindset shift of how we're looking at these purchases that we're making.
Yeah, I love that. Food for thought for sure with that. And looking ahead and seeing, if this is an investment that I'm making, what is the production? What is it giving me back? What is the return on investment? And also being patient, because a lot of times we make investments very short term, and in that short term fear based thinking that, we limit the opportunity for that return on that investment as well. Kimberly, I'd love to hear your thoughts around this as well.
Yeah. So first, can we get an amen for Mike? Because I really, really hate tax strategy. Oh, I'm going to just go buy a car. That is not, let's just call it for what it is. That is not tax strategy unless I'm in agreement with Mike. Like if you need it, if we've had it built into the plan and it's time, absolutely go get that large computer, car, whatever it looks like. So, and I agree. So I'm not from a small town, but the misinformation via social media these days, please don't take tax strategy advice from somebody who is not a legitimately qualified person, because remember, they're not giving you the whole story. Their tax professional might have said, we're going to do this for your business. So then they go and repeat it on TikTok or Instagram, but their business is different from yours, and they're not giving you the full story and all of the details that go into hiring your kids. I love hiring your kids as a strategy, but you better do it properly, or the IRS, everybody jokes about the IRS coming and putting you in jail. They're not going to do that, but you are going to have problems if you don't do it properly, right? And I agree with Mike. I think that you could justify anything in your mind as an investment, right? You could come up with some ROI. So you still need to really be thoughtful about what you're investing in. And so and there are just sometimes expenses, right? Sometimes something is just an expense and there is no way to turn it into an investment. But I think if we can have that mindset shift, like Mike mentioned, it is key. The other thing that I like to introduce is, you are going to have some investments with a great ROI. You are going to have some things that just might be an expense, right? Like when I go and re-register my business with the Secretary of State, I mean, I guess it's an investment because I get to keep running my business, but I just sort of look at that $100 as an annual expense that I have to pay every year. For me, it's more about making sure that you're mindful of your numbers so that you can be lean, so that you don't have unnecessary expenses creeping up in there, because that can also really hurt you along the way if you're not looking at your numbers and being mindful of what's going on.
Know thy numbers. That's the main message that I got out of your message, Kimberly. And I love that you said that and Mike touched upon that. I mean, fast forward beyond social media, we're always transferring information sometimes through limits and through not a lot of awareness. So if you work for someone, I know people that just gave advice randomly on certain things. Well, do that or do this, right? And now the age of social media is more amplified because anyone can just get on anywhere and kind of give a message around maybe their limited experience or lack of, right? So we have to be very, very careful on who we really surround ourselves with. So do your homework, and now, use the power of all the tools that we are given to ensure that you are making a really great decision for yourself. I always say for any business, the best client is the educated client, because the educated client knows your value, knows what they're getting, and are going to be invested, so that you don't have those pain points down the line with people that are not really educated or don't value the service that you offer, because we're all service providers here in the summit and in this community. So yeah, powerful, powerful stuff. Love to add my next guest speaker to the conversation, Mitch Creighton. Mitch, thanks so much for coming on. Looking forward to getting to know you better as well.
Well, it is my pleasure. And I have a high-speed internet connection, but you wouldn't know it from the lack of clarity in my image here. But just to share with you, I have a different perspective on investment because I have a passion to help people get the vacation they want and deserve. And while business owners tend to invest in people, they tend to invest in equipment and real estate, oftentimes the one investment that's key is the investment in themselves. 60% of W-2 employees fail to take their paid vacation. Oftentimes, they feel intimidated, they feel they'll lose something. Oftentimes, they think that they're too indispensable to the company. And yet, those are the folks that don't come up with any new creative ideas. Those are the folks that feel the most stressed. And I've got several stories to share with you about that. But entrepreneurs are worse. Entrepreneurs rarely invest in their vacation. Entrepreneurs say, I can't leave. I'm critical to this, especially if you're in startup and you've just hired some people. You feel, how can I leave this business? Who else will know how to run it but me? But I have to share with you, I've had several clients of mine who were entrepreneurs. They got their first financing, they got their next level of financing approved, and they always want to think about a 5-year buyout from all of the investors. And I said, how is an investor going to let you leave if you don't prove to them that the people that you have are self-reliant? So I'm going to make you a bet. I want you to put some time in your calendar, 2 weeks, and I want you to set aside couple $100 a week until that time, so that now you have time and you have money. And I want you to believe that when you leave, your organization will thrive. When you get back, it will not fall apart in 2 weeks. And you have got to have that reassurance while you are away. And then I throw the kicker in, your cell phone is only an emergency communication device. Do not rely on it, and leave it in your pocket. And that's when most entrepreneurs completely go bonkers on me. So I have been helping people make those memories and avoid regrets for 20 years. And the investment in yourself is so critical because you want to get away from your daily routine, all the stressors of your daily activity. You want to see new stores, new streets, new cultures, new vitality, hear new music, taste good new food. And yes, being international, going halfway around the world, that I do that a lot. And I think when you do that, you come back and appreciate our wonderful country even more. But even if your finances won't allow, you could go several states over and discover, I'm in Colorado, discover Nebraska, see what North Carolina has to offer. You don't have to leave the country. You can use people who know English and use the US dollar, but every culture you're going to experience is going to be new. You're going to come back now with a completely new perspective. You're going to come back refreshed. You're going to come back relaxed. And you're going to come back surprised that your organization actually is still running. Amazing. 2 weeks later, the earth didn't stop moving. And so to me, I think of travel as a human investment that has to be put into the bank every year. Now, regretfully, leisure travel is not tax deductible. My other honored guests here will agree. But what you can do is you can take your top performers out on a retreat. You can take your best salespeople or even your best customers out on a retreat. That would be tax deductible. And it's not all work and no play. You could go out on a cruise ship for 4 days, have 3 or 4 summit meetings, and in the evening and through the rest of the day, you have all the amenities that a cruise would offer you. So there are ways to do this, but I caution, do not forget to do your own leisure travel. Do not forget to bring your family along. Oftentimes I hear entrepreneurs who are deep into their business growth, they regret they didn't spend time with their kids. They didn't invest as much time with their spouse as they wanted to. And this is a way to ensure quality time. Absolutely. And you know, when I talk about multi-family trips where the grandkids have never seen grandma and grandpa laugh, they only see them at the holiday table, or they see them at weddings, but they never get to know them as human beings, that they have a sense of humor, that they like music. Well, those stories that get built through those experiences, you cannot bankrupt away. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs who are successful like to show their love by buying things. So you give your kid a car, and if they don't run it into a wall for reckless driving, in 3 years, it'll be worth a lot less. It'll be traded out, and it won't be all that significant a memory. But can you imagine camping with your kid, or visiting a museum with your children, or even your parents, and learn an aspect of their life that is precious to you and will be imprinted to you for the rest of your life. And so the reason that I've offered to come here is that this is a life school strategy. Most people, when they do financial planning, when they do tax planning, the vacation doesn't show up usually in the questionnaire. It is all about, oh, well, I'm too busy. Oh, I've got a kid graduating high school. My parents are ill and I can't leave them. And I say it's time for you to make reservations instead of excuses. Now, you know, if it's truly a world emergency, you can cancel. And there's travel insurance to protect you for that. But honestly, most world emergencies, in hindsight, were really small. And the value of leaving and coming back and being enmeshed in activities, in experiences, learning how to cook a new food, smelling a new smell, listening to music you've never experienced, being on an insider tour to something like the Vatican. Those are things that will imprint with you and will inform you about values that you can't get any other way. Because in your small business, you're you're bound up in the blinders of who you are and the people you're with every day. And so, as an entrepreneur who this is my third career, I can tell you that when people travel, they come back, and my measure of success is the stories they tell. I don't want to hear that they didn't have hot water. I want to hear, I never knew this music existed. I tasted some of the best food and I learned how to cook it. Wow. I did not know. Hold on here. What just happened? I did not know. I did not know that these folks speak English, or that. Well, here's the one. Oh well, I went to France and I was expecting to be disrespected, only to find out the French people love us. Okay, now your worldview has changed. And I went to Paris and then went south to the Chartres Cathedral, and it just happened to be at a time where, as I was walking through the Chartres village after an organ concert, now those are some experiences that are with me forever. All of a sudden, I'm seeing American GI Jeeps and American GIs out on a field. I said, what is this? Oh, every year we celebrate the landing of the U.S. Army in World War II because Chartres was the head of the French resistance. I didn't know that. And because I was American, the first thing they said is, please, let us buy you a beer. So these are the ahas that will change you forever. And I tell you this story, and it happened 12 years ago. So it's with me. And those memories are just so valuable and inform your life. You appreciate everything you have so much more.
Yeah, Mitch, I love your message. It's so loud and clear. And we realize that the more we get connected globally and experience new cultures and memories, and this is really the pleasure of being a human, right? A whole united human experience, which is why I think even people now more conscious are trying to build a more holistic type of business versus traditionally what we have seen. We've seen success, but we've seen entrepreneurs and CEOs that are successful only in their business, trading in a lot of other pleasures in their lives for that, for that specific area. So I think people are realizing that it's in the time and it's in the memories, it's in the experience is what makes our human experience rich, and is how we connect with one another. And what I also learned is that we are more alike than we are different. It does not matter, because our unique human experience really does unite us and connect us from all angles of cultures and stages and phases of life. So I love the work that you're doing, Mitch, with kind of bringing that intentionality around ensuring that we are booking those in our calendar when we are planning our years, our quarters, however everyone plans their life and business goals for the year, or for their 3, 5, 10 years, right? So beautiful, beautiful message. So I absolutely enjoyed all the amazing speakers that have shared their message with us today. I have one final question for each one of them, and I would love for you to connect with them as well. So Kimberly, back to you. What is your vision for greater impact through the work that you do? And also, where is it that people can continue the conversation with you today?
Yeah. So, wow, I love that question. My vision, and it's funny because that is truly what now motivates me, is to let women service providers know that they are worthy and deserving of a good experience with a qualified CPA, that they don't have to be spoken to in a condescending way, that there is a safe space for them to ask the questions and to be educated in the business, finance, and tax sphere, so that they can confidently own the numbers of their business. And that is what I'm here for, is to empower them and to educate them. So that is the mission that I'm on, and to let them know that not all tax professionals out there are unresponsive, lack creativity, lack proactiveness. There are a few of us out there like Mike and I who that is what we focus on, and that is what we're here for. And you can find me on Instagram at Terra CPA Firm. I love the voice DMs because I love the connection that brings into the relationship.
All right, beautiful. Mike?
Yeah, one of my main goals in everything that we do is just to help small business owners understand the strategies that are available to them and also understand how to implement those so that they're paying the least amount in taxes as legally possible each and every year. And so with everything we do, that's our goal. How do we help small business owners understand strategies available to them and how to implement them? And so what we do is we have a podcast. So we do weekly episodes. It's the Small Business Tax Savings Podcast. Can find it on any podcasting platforms. We do weekly episodes where we do audio version, obviously, on the podcast. We do video version. We have a blog post for every podcast we do. So whether you like to listen, watch, or read, we have a solution on every topic that we talk about. And so you can find more information on that at taxsavingspodcast.com.
All right. And the name of the podcast is that, right? Tax Savings?
Small Business Tax Savings Podcast. Yep.
Gotcha. All right. Beautiful. And Mitch?
Well, because at the end of life, nobody says I should have worked more. They usually say I should have traveled more. My ambition is to help people get the vacation they want and deserve. And the finality is make memories and not regrets. I offer the Worldwide Travel Cast as my podcast, and as an active special travel advisor working in small ship cruising, and that's subject for another matter, I'm always open to have a discovery call. Reach out to me, Mitch at CreightonTravel.com. You see the QR code there that will get you to my website, CreightonTravel.com.
All right. Well, there you have it. Those are our beautiful guests today. And the ways to continue the conversation, I speak about how important it is we just started the conversation today. So let's nurture relationships. Community and connection is a very important value of us here at the Life School. And we know the magic is in the service and in the way that we get to help one another as we continue these conversations beyond the summit here today. And you will find the amazing speakers and their links inside our Facebook group, YouTube channel, page, all under Life School, Elona Lipari. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have a message that you'd like to share with us here at the Life School, join our next free event at elonaliparicoaching.com/events. Thank you so much. Be amazing and ensure that you are always staying connected to your vision for greater impact. Have a beautiful rest of your week. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Hello, Visionary CEO. Are you looking for a global community where you can grow your influence, build trust, and leverage high-quality relationships? I'm introducing the Life School Global Community Expert Program that we have here at the Life School, where as a Visionary CEO, you'll get to be part of an amazing community with over 30,000 seasoned entrepreneurs and business leaders, and growing daily so that you could do just that. You can grow meaningful relationships and you can make a bigger impact and income through your business and positively affect your global communities and do more good in the world. In our global community program, we will warmly introduce you to members in our community for trust building and referrals. We will connect you with speaking events, with podcast features, with other amazing events that will cater to you and your audience. Another benefit of being part of the community is to be able to be a contributor, a monthly contributor to our global magazine, Purpose Driven CEO. Another amazing benefit is to participate in our weekly and monthly virtual and live events where your work will be showcased to a big audience, as I mentioned, to over 30,000 business leaders all over the world. The other benefit that you will have is be part of our Facebook group community of members, and all our Facebook pages and personal profiles totaling in over 10,000 followers. And these are not just low quality followers, but are high quality followers. That is something that I, as the founder, am very proud to be able to leverage in our audience. The other thing you will be part of is the exposure on our LinkedIn community as well, to over 10,000 followers. And then our TikTok and Instagram that has over 100,000 followers, and also our email list of over 30,000 followers. The benefits of the community are always growing. So these are just some of the main features that we have built already and have in place. So I'd love to invite you to join. There is a monthly membership for you to choose from, which is just $49 a month, or a yearly membership paid in full, and you could save 2 months at $490 yearly. The monthly membership you can always cancel just by simply sending us an email if you obviously feel that the community is not a good fit for you. I'm looking forward to having you join. Go to elonaloparicoaching.com/events and you'll find more information on how to sign up. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you inside our community.